Hello everyone, Silent here, and welcome back to another episode of Bug Rock of the Week. We all know that there are massive differences between Minecraft Bedrock and Java Edition, and there's quite the disparity between the two versions. However, you might not understand exactly what those differences are, how they affect gameplay, or why it should be taken seriously. So in today's video, I'll be showing you 6 different features that Minecraft Java Edition does way better than Minecraft Bedrock, explaining to you why it's important and how nice it would be if these features were the same on both the platforms. This is part 1 of 2. In the next episode, I'll be showing you 6 features that are way better on Bedrock Edition than they are on Java Edition, so stay tuned for that. Now keep in mind, I won't be talking about redstone, mob spawning, multiplayer, crossplay, or the offhand in today's video, since all 4 of those subjects have been absolutely done to death and talked about extensively, including by myself as well. However, if you want to see a separate video talking about those subjects, then let me know if a comment down below. So let's start off small and talk about the Elytra. It is significantly easier to take off and fly on Java Edition due to one small change. On Java Edition, you can activate your Elytra whenever you are falling or being launched upwards, such as from a slime block or just from jumping. On Bedrock Edition, you can only activate your Elytra when you are falling downwards, and we can demonstrate this with a slime block launcher. So I'm going to be spamming my spacebar the entire time, but we can only activate the Elytra as soon as we start falling downwards. Testing the same thing on Java Edition, you can see that as soon as I hit that slime block and start going upwards, I can activate my Elytra, and this just makes the entire experience so much easier and makes it way easier to get into the air and start flying. It's such a small quality of life tweak, but it seriously does have a big impact on gameplay. Another very small but quality of life change that Java Edition has is the fact that you can activate your Elytra when you are in water. As you can see, I'm just standing in water. If I bob up and hit spacebar, I can now activate my Elytra and immediately take off. This is not present on Bedrock Edition. This is extra weird for Bedrock Edition because you actually can do this in lava. As you can see, I can swim around in lava, and if I just hit spacebar, I can activate my Elytra. This too is present on Java Edition. However, it's simply not a thing for water on Bedrock Edition, which is very strange. I know I said I wasn't going to mention the offhand in today's video, however, on Bedrock Edition, you can put rockets into your offhand, and they're completely useless. You can't fly with them, you can't use them, they're only good for the crossbow. And like, how many people actually use rockets and crossbows? Moving on to something a little bit bigger is the Nether Roof of Java Edition. Java Edition has the Nether go all the way up to the regular 256 build height. However, the actual Nether Roof itself is at 128. So if you do manage to break yourself some bedrock, there's basically a vanilla super flat up here where you can build really anything you want. It's spawn proof. You can build your farms up at 256, and there is so much possibility with this little flat area that is simply not present or possible on Bedrock Edition. So on Bedrock Edition, if you break through the bedrock and go up here, you are at build height. You cannot place any blocks above 128. It's kind of like just impossible to build up here. You can still travel up here if you have a hole, and then another hole, you can still travel up here, but it's not really that great or useful. Ideally, this would have been added to Bedrock Edition with the 1.16 Nether update, and some of the developers also agree with that sentiment. This is basically officially a feature of Java Edition now, because recently they made it so that Nether portals actually properly link to the Nether Roof. So if we go through this Nether portal, it's going to take us to the overworld, obviously. If we go back through this portal, it actually links it to the Nether Roof. In previous updates, this did not happen, so essentially, the Nether Roof is like an actual feature of Java Edition, and therefore, it should be added to Bedrock Edition as well. One last thing of note with this little topic is the fact that you can actually get the Nether Roof properly added to Bedrock Edition and be able to build up here and everything. However, it requires you to heavily modify the game, and it's not vanilla in the slightest. So hopefully Mojang will add the Nether Roof to vanilla Bedrock Edition sometime in the future. Maybe 1.18? That would be a pretty prime time to add it. Going small scale for a minute, granted, but also very quality of life, Java Edition has some absolutely fantastic quality of life inventory management things. So for example, when you're in the inventory or inside of a chest or something else, you can press any number and that will assign an item to your hotbar. As you can see, I can press 9 on this food, that'll go to the 9th slot. I can press the other numbers and things will automatically go to their slots. You can even do this for things already on your hotbar. So if I press 1 while hovering over the shovel, that's going to swap these two items around. This might seem kind of small and not really that important. However, once you get used to using this feature, it can be such a time saver. There's also a really convenient one for creative users. For example, if you hold down the mouse wheel while holding an item, you can actually duplicate that in creative extremely easily and quickly, and overall it's a pretty awesome little feature for creative users. There's also another really nice feature for creative and survival. You can shift double click an item and that will move every single item of that type from one inventory to another. This seriously saves so much time and is an absolutely beautiful feature. Going back to creative users, there's also this absolutely lovely feature called the saved hotbar. Now with this, you can simply go ahead and press C1 and that will save this entire hotbar of items as a custom hotbar. So this means that you can switch between hotbar slots and selections incredibly quickly and smoothly just by going through and pressing a couple of buttons on your keyboard. So this is my third saved inventory, this is my first slot, and this allows you to switch between like redstone building supplies or creative decoration or command blocks or whatever you are messing with. You can have 9 different saved hotbars and it's absolutely beautiful. It is such a nice and convenient feature for creative users. The saved hotbar tab in the creative menu acts like a regular creative menu as well, so you can simply grab any of these items that you want to infinitely. And another really nice convenient trick of this is you can use the empty saved hotbars to clear out and delete everything on your hotbar instead of doing a /clear or double clicking this little destroy button right there. Something that you can always have a blast with is TNT. However, there's some parity issues with this as well. On Bedrock Edition, the TNT does not drop 100% of the blocks that it destroys. So as you can see, that TNT blew up a lot of slime blocks and it didn't really drop that many of them as items. If we were to run this exact test on Java Edition, every single one of these slime blocks that it broke would have actually dropped as an item, so we could fully repair this area and not have any missing blocks. This little small change and parity issue has a large impact on blast chambers and all kinds of stuff like that, and it also affects the amount of stuff you can get from like quarries and tunnel bores and all of that good stuff. It's honestly a very nice little feature, and hopefully this gets brought to Bedrock Edition sometime soon. Here's one that definitely isn't going to start any fights: iron farms. Iron farms on Bedrock Edition and Java are completely, absolutely, 100% different, and it's actually quite startling as well. Java Edition iron farms produce way more iron than Bedrock ones, and Bedrock mechanics are basically pre-village and pillage at their core. For example, on Bedrock Edition, you need 10 villagers and 20 beds to get iron golems spawning, which is basically exactly the same as 1.12's 10 villagers and 20 doors. Really, not much has changed on Bedrock Edition in the slightest. If we compare that to Java Edition, over here you only need a zombie, a couple of villagers, and a couple of beds, and this setup will start spawning you iron golems. It is incredibly simple, it's very straightforward, and it gets you like basically the same rates as a very complicated Bedrock Edition iron farm. Not only that, these things can be built very, very, very close together, so you could have like, you know, several of these in one area to multiply your rates, whereas on Bedrock Edition, stacking villages and getting multiple iron farms in one area is an incredibly tedious task and barely works most of the time unless you are willing to pour absolutely hours into it. If you want to learn more about how Bedrock Edition iron farms work, I recently made a video on how to fix your Bedrock Edition iron farms, and I also go over all of the mechanics of how iron farms work in that video as well. There is kind of a lot to it, and it is way more complicated than it should be. Java Edition definitely takes home the win when it comes to nice, simple, and easy to understand iron farms. Bedrock Edition is also lacking on the map front as well. There are several issues with these. First of all, any blocks that you put down in the world won't show up as the correct color on maps most of the time, making it so that when you look at a map, it's oftentimes going to look a little bit off, it's not going to have the correct colors, and of course this makes map art much harder to create as well, because you can't get those nice fine gradients that you can on Java Edition. Furthermore, there's a really big issue and bug with maps on Bedrock Edition. Whenever you open up a new map, it is going to create like 5 larger versions of it. So I just opened a bunch of brand new maps in the exact same spot of the world, and each one of these is their own unique map. As you can see, they all have a different number. Now the thing about this is that every single one of these has created 5 maps within the world data that are completely useless. So there is the base version right here, and there is all of the larger versions. There's the 1.4 version, the 2.4, the 3.4, and the 4.4 version, all stored in your world data and being completely inaccessible and completely useless as well. If you have a lot of maps in your Bedrock Edition world, you can be adding hundreds of megabytes to your world size, bogging down your world and kind of killing your world prematurely. There is essentially no way of solving this problem without external programs on Windows 10, so be very careful when creating a lot of maps in your world, as this can really add a lot of excess storage to things. And keep in mind, there's nothing you can do about this in-game. Even destroying these map items or throwing them in fire doesn't do anything. All of that data is still stored in your world. You're just destroying one item, which really doesn't have any impact at all. Just look at how vibrant and nice that map is. That is so much more detailed than on Bedrock Edition. It looks amazing, and this is just like a very generic area of the world. Now, another feature that Bedrock Edition maps are missing is one that you've absolutely heard of to death, and that is, of course, map markers. You can rename a banner, place it in the world, right-click on that with a map, and bam, the name and the color of the banner will show up on the map. And it actually is a really cool feature, because then you can have map markers all over your world. You can make a giant map wall and know where absolutely everything is. And this feature was added to Java Edition in like 1.14, somewhere around that area. It has been around for a while now, and it simply has not been implemented on Bedrock Edition. Honestly, with the bugs that Bedrock Edition has, it's probably a good thing that it hasn't, let's be honest. So as you can see, there legitimately are many different ways that Bedrock Edition and Java are very different from one another. However, if even a quarter of the things on this list were changed and made the same between platforms, it would introduce a ton of amazing features to millions of Minecraft players, overall be a very nice quality of life update, and bring the games ever closer to parity, which is always a good thing. The 2 versions of Minecraft will eventually become the same-ish in the far future, and it's just a matter of getting there, one feature at a time. So let me know what you think about today's video and what you think about the parity issue that Minecraft currently has. Bedrock Edition has been updated massively over the last couple of years, so we don't have nearly as big of a parity gap as we once did. It's really just getting down to like some of the nitty-gritty details, and of course like redstone and stuff like that. Also, let me know what your favorite feature is that you don't have on the platform that you play on. If you play on Java Edition, what Bedrock feature do you want? And if you play on Bedrock, what Java feature do you want? Let me know with a comment down below. I am interested to see what you guys have to say. But otherwise, that is going to do it for today's episode of Bug Rock of the Week. I hope that you have greatly enjoyed. Of course, if you did, make sure to leave a like on the video or possibly subscribe so that you don't miss future ones. I will see you guys down in the comment section and in the next one. Thank you so very much for watching. And then there was silence.